Hello everybody, welcome back to another Silly Whiz stream and a continuation of the evaluation of the meta. And we were looking at the R&D challenge where Wizards of the Coast tried to be nice to all of its players and get them back on side by saying come on over and play with us and let us kick your asses. They put a lot of publicity out about how they were going to do this, and they absolutely failed miserably and basically had to rig things so that they had one of their guys in the last four. So today we are having a look at the third place deck, and I'm going to give you a hint about where the third place deck is and what it looked like. So it starts with 9 assembly, and for some reason I've got rid of all of the resources, and it has 9 tactics and 2 black market connections. Now from that, if you can't guess what type of deck this is, then you haven't been listening to everything else I've been saying. Okay, this is an Inner Sphere Swarm. This is Dave Hymas' Inner Sphere Swarm. Dave Hymas, a very, very prolific Swarm player, and won an awful lot of tournaments playing that particular type of deck. And it wasn't until 1999, where he came third playing the Boom Wolf deck, that he actually switched. So let's see what else is in his deck. Well, let's face it, it's a Swarm deck. It's post-Mech Warrior, it's pre-Commander's Edition, so the Night Sky isn't banned. Post-Mech Warrior, post-Arsenal, so the Night Sky isn't banned. It's an auto-include at 2 cost, medium, 1/7/2, overheat, 3+1, jump, hatchet. Hand-to-hand, call it what you want. At 2 cost, it's the best mech in the game. And also at 2 cost, we have the good old faithful Centurion 9D, a 1/6/2, Alpha 2. So that can get you to 4. The Night Sky can overheat and get you to 3, unless you get it's attacked by the same speed or slower. So any mediums, you get another damage on there from the hatchet. And alongside this, we have in the medium slot, surprise, surprise, we have 5 chameleons. Okay, that's the Arsenal unit. It's a 1/6/3 jumper, no options. 1/6/3 jump across the board, and those are our medium units. We also have in the slower category the Blackjack, and this is the BJ2, and we have 5 of these. 1/6/3 overheat, 1+1 jump. That can get to 4 damage. With your Chameleon, that's a resource kill. With a Night Sky, that could be a resource kill. Or the Chameleon with an Alpha Centurion is a resource kill. Lots and lots of options with that +1 attack on there. And we have the Hatchet Man. And this is not the revised edition, because at this point the revised edition did not exist. This is the 2 cost Hatchet Man, the 1/6/2 overheat, 1+1 jump, and it's got a hatchet, stroke axe, stroke hand to hand, which they then decided to call it hand to hand, which deals another 1 against anything that's the same speed or slower, so slow mechs get an extra 1. And if you look back to Yick's Swarm, you have a lot of options again. The Hatchet Man's +1. The Chameleon is a straight 3 instead of the Wolfhound, but it's 1 more point more durable. And it doesn't overheat. Okay, so you can't get 4 out of it. But there is a reason for that, as we'll see in a minute. So he went with the Chameleon over the Wolfhound. The Centurion is in there, and all the others. Now, the other thing I'd point out is that Night Sky has no buyout. Hatchet Man has 3 assembly. Chameleon has 2 assembly. Centurion has 2 assembly. The Blackjack has 2 assembly as well. So why is he running 9 assembly and 9 tactics? And I don't understand that. I think you could drop a tactics comfortably without having to do that. And you might decide that you're going to maybe play a think tank He's not running war funds. There's no war funds in there. You could easily drop a couple of each of those and war funds to be able to pull out your black market. Okay, so what else does he have? He has, and these are the reasons why he runs 9 tactics. And as I said, I think you could drop one. But the reason I think he's doing this is he's playing 5 heavy fogs. Okay. Now, Dave Hymas and Pete Sundholm, who we did last time, were playing partners. Okay. Peter knows that the way to beat Dave's swarm deck is to kill the resources. So Dave is playing heavy fog so that when Peter attacks his resources, he drops a heavy fog and the resource survives. Because every mech gets -2 attack, they're not receiving any damage, so receiving 2 less damage, 0 damage is still 0 damage. So he can basically let the attack through and play a heavy fog, and his resources survive, and next turn he can put out 2 units each time. Okay, and that's the reason for 9 tactics and 9 assembly. As I said, I think you can change. I think you could, but that's his reasoning. That's why he's playing those. Now, alongside this, and this is risky, he is playing 4 risky combat jumps. Okay, yes, it's the die roll. Okay, but the Night Sky jumps, the Hatchet Man jumps, the Chameleon jumps. That's probably the most important reason for it being in here over the Wolfhound. It jumps. The Centurion doesn't jump, and that's a weak point, but it will alpha for 4, and that's quite important because 4 against a Phantom, is nearly enough to kill it. Okay, it doesn't kill it, but if there's another unit involved or the Fenris blocks another unit, the chances are it's going to die. So that's quite a big kick, but it's weak. You cannot play risky on it. That's the one weak in the deck. The Blackjack jumps. So that's why there's 4 risky combat jumps in there, because the other way you can deal with a swarm is start unit hunting. So in order to do that, away you go away, do not hunt my mechs. Oh, and by the way, if I roll a dice and I roll nicely, I can kill you. Imagine hunting a Blackjack which overheats. In fact, it doesn't even need to overheat to kill a Phantom. If it overheats and you roll a risky high enough, you kill a Fenris. And the chances are that your Blackjack survives and the Fenris dies. That's a pretty good trade. Pretty good trade. Preferably if it's a Fenris B. You've just played 3 resources and a mission for a 5 resource fast unit. So that's pretty good value if you could pull that off. His other mission, I was going to say his final mission, is in fact a final mission because it is final push, and this is just to give everything long range 2 so you can attack in a group of 4 or 5 and deal that final 8, 10, whatever else it is to stockpile. And remember, you only have to do that when they're on 11 cards, because the game ends when they cannot draw a card. If they're on 0, then actually the game doesn't end because they're not drawing cards. If you draw cards and you're on 2 and you get to 0, I think you're fine. But there we go. And then finally, to prevent that resource and unit hunting, or even the stock, if you want to put it on your stockpile to prevent those little annoying choppers, a fog-shrouded Moors makes things very, very difficult to prevent or very, very difficult to either hunt units or resource hunt, or if in doubt, stick it on your stock and prevent some damage. And that's his deck. It's definitely a bit different. Generally not where swarms were going at the time. Most of them were going into pilots and maybe dropping a slight fewer high mechs, and also no war funds, which is very interesting in that respect. I think this is pretty reliable. Okay, finally we'll have a look at the sideboard, and the sideboard is, and you're going to recognise this, single combat, 2 of those, great ways of dealing with dashers. One of the creative terraforming, One forged. Guessing for chump blockers. One overrun. Again, chump blockers. One more final push. And 2 arrow 4 batteries for those people that like to recycle their decks so that it can kill PMC. He doesn't seem to think that terrains are going to be a problem. And again, with 9A, 9T, 2 black market as your resources, maybe you'd have thought, drop a couple, put a few war funds in there to pull the black markets, put a think tank in there to sack for P. 1 plus 5P, 4P, that's 5 total. It's quite a lot for a swarm deck that's trying to put out 2 units a turn at 4 cost. Maybe you can say he's trying to get to 5 cost and put out a 3 and a 2 each turn. Maybe even try for 6 and put out 2 3s, because it is a little heavy on the 3s as opposed to the 2s. There are 6, 12, and the night sky. So you can see that the 3 cost he actually has slightly less of to keep the numbers down. So paying for your creative terraforming is going to be a little awkward, because the chances are you've either got 4 resources on the table, you might have 5, but then that's everything, and then what do you do, because you're not playing with politics. Final push, again, overrun and forge mission orders. That's down to play style against your opponent. Certainly final push, overrun, forge mission orders over probably dropping a heavy fog, because risk is still good in combat. If your opponent's not overly aggressive, then that, and they're on the defense, then that gives you the opportunities of, if they block with 1, do you forge it, do you overrun it, do you just say sod it, I'm going to final push the whole lot through anyway and get a hit on your stockpile. So a little surprising, especially the resource mix. I think this might be edging a little onto Gustav's kitchen sink. It's a bit more memey, fun, not quite as focused. I'm not sure. I think 5 heavy fogs is quite a lot. I think he's built this to beat Peter, and I don't think he's built it to beat a lot of other people. I think heavy fog is good. It worked well in the mirror match. Let everything through, drop a heavy fog, it does nothing. And it's a very good defensive mission, and with fog shrouded moors in the right place, you could probably let things through, a group of 5 through and take 3 damage, because they all have to overheat to do stuff. Risky is good, but the Centurion is weak. You might be better off being more reliable with Comguard and or pushing the envelope. But it's definitely an interesting deck. I must admit I haven't played it. I think it'd be a nice one to play at some point, and see how it goes. So there you go. That deck came third. It performed better than Peter Sondheim's Boom Wolf. Came third. Good example of a swarm in that respect. Interesting that it wasn't the Pilot Solaris variation. And there are no war funds in it at the time. But then the meta was developing. I wonder what he ran at Worlds. I don't honestly know, and I don't think there's a list anywhere. But if it was something like this, it would perform well, but probably not win, as we'll find out. So there's Dave Hymas's Inner Sphere Swarm from the R&D Challenge. Thank you for listening. I know it's been short and sweet, but I said they were all going to be. So anyway, we're done. I'm going to come back and do the next deck. Probably going to do the winner's deck. I might do the Wizards of the Coast one. We'll see. We'll see how I feel about that. Yeah. I think I will, actually. So anyway, in the meantime, look after yourselves and take care. It's a big bad world out there. I'll see you soon.